documents. After hearing about all the list of documents, it comes to my mind that Harry Potter got it very easy. He got one letter and he got admission to Hogwarts.
Many of the students comes to us and ask that, see, I don't have this much fund, but I have funds in my father's account. I have funds in my mother's account. So the major question comes, who all can be the sponsor? Who all can sponsor you throughout this journey?
Do all universities ask for English requirement?
No. I mean, it is actually terms and conditions applied, I would say. CAS is basically confirmation of acceptance for studies. That's the document which every international student should have. If I am a student and if I'm going to study, what I want is to get a practical knowledge. I want to go in the, in the business. I want to understand how it works, not just with the theoretical part, which I've been studying already. I know the theory part, but I want to do a little more, with the practical term that how I can be used to it.
So can you tell me 5 things that a student should consider while choosing a university? Welcome to another episode of Meta Applies ABC podcast series, Abroad and Beyond Campus. Today, we are going to talk about a leading study destination, which is UK, and we are going to talk about everything you want to learn and everything you should know before you choose UK as a study destination. Today, we have an amazing guest with us, Khushbu Bawa, who is the PSM of UK. She carries 10 years of experience in studying abroad industry, and she is going to tell us why you should study in the UK, what are the reasons, what are the challenges you might face, the documentation, the process for it, everything that you would want to know about before choosing UK as a study destination.
Thank you so much for having me today here, Mahima. And today we'll be talking about whatever you would like to know as, for a student, what should they do, what all things they should know before choosing UK as a study destination. So I'm so happy to answer all the questions that you'll be having.
Okay. So first of all, I want to ask you, UK has been a leading study destination for a very long time. And not just people from South Asia, but from Nigeria, from all other destinations as well. People want to travel to UK to study over there. So what do you think are the major reasons that it attracts people so much?
So, there are various reasons for students to choose UK as a study destination, and I think one of the biggest reason for them is their culture, their environment. It matters a lot for every student, to fit in and where they can fit in. Because whenever they go, they see whether, they have that diversity or not, whether they'll be able to survive within that culture. That is one of the major reasons which I feel personally. Second, of course, the ranking of the university. The topmost universities are there in UK. So if you will see across the globe, you will find topmost universities are there in UK. You must be knowing the names. It's Oxford, Cambridge, Glasgow. There are multiple universities for that. And other reason, of course, the kind of support they provide to the international students. It is not just starting with their application, but they help even after completing their graduation. So when it comes to the student cells, which they have specifically for international students, they help a lot to prepare the student even after completing it. So that's the best part.
I think like you mentioned, there are a lot of top ranking universities in the UK. I was also reading in QS ranking that top universities, if you see, it resides in UK and USA, but UK was a major part. But is it only Oxford and Cambridge? But what about the other universities?
There are many universities available as per their specialization. So these are just the ones. So what we see is that people talking about modern university, traditional universities.
Can you tell me what is the difference between these modern universities and these traditional universities?
What you understand with this term, traditional, which means very old, right?
Yeah.
So of course the university which are the oldest one, more than 100 years old universities, and the modern ones which recently, in the last say 10, 15 years, 20, 30 years, they become the university. They have got the, I would say a recognition as university called as modern universities, right? So just to make you understand in this term.
So as a student, if I see a college that is 100 years old college, it has tradition, it has legacy, it has history. And then there are these modern colleges and universities. I understand that they are really new and modern, but I would have a bent towards the old and traditional ones. So a lot of students might differ from me and they would want to go for the newer ones. What do they offer? Like, if I want to also go for a modern university, what would you suggest me?
It comes with different kind of factors when it comes to choosing a university, be it if it's traditional, be it if it's a modern university. There are various things involved. Suppose that you are a student, you want to, or of course by thinking that the university is 100 years old, oh, I want to go ahead with traditional university. It happens, but we should also understand that for which course are we going. Is this the university good for my particular course? Is this the university has good ranking? Because it always differs from course to course. Suppose if you would like to go for engineering program, and let's take an example of University of Liverpool, right? It's an old university, of course. So I would say that I want to go with Liverpool. But now it is, what we are talking is the normal engineering program. But if I want to go with some more deep, say more specialized course, say aeronautical engineering, then what I would suggest you, of course, I will go deep down. I will search for the ranking. I will search for what they are offering me. Are they offering me the theoretical part or the practical part? Are they offering me with the best teaching facility which they are having? And what is their ranking of the course? What kind of employment I'll be getting?
So it is not just about choosing the university. It is an entire journey of choosing the course and then the right fit for the university.
Absolutely.
I've heard so many of my friends, they are coming up with these new names like Aberystwyth University. Their dreams are changing, the courses are changing, the whole landscape is changing.
If I am a student and if I'm going to study, what I want is to get a practical knowledge. I want to go in the in the business. I want to understand how it works, not just with the theoretical part, which I've been studying already. I know the theory part, but I want to do a little more, with the practical term that how I can be used to it. So this is how I believe matters a lot, and this is how this is what the student wants.
Specifically in the newer generation, they're not really concerned about the books. They want to go out into the world. They want to experience things firsthand.
I myself, I believe if you'll ask me to read a chapter, I would rather sleep.
Yeah.
So, if you ask me to do a task, I'll be, very on the top of it that, okay, I have to do it. But then if you ask that, okay, you read this, I'm like, thank you. I cannot, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, yes, it comes with the deliverance, and there are several accredited bodies in UK which ensures the quality of education is getting delivered at every institution. So every institution have their accredited bodies, and which ensures, so QAA is the one that ensures the quality of education, the standard of education. You must have heard that UK is the best in terms of their education system.
Yeah.
And in order to take care for this quality, the bodies have been established, and they, of course, they try their best to set the standards, set the bar in the entire globe, and the students are getting, of course, used to it because they want the quality. They just don't want to go to college and study. They want something else.
And to keep up with the competition, to keep up with the changing times and generation and thought process as well. So can you tell me 5 things that a student should consider while choosing a university?
5 things, if I want to count, it'll start with the course, of course. When a student wants to study something, then what the student wants to study. First is the course selection. The second would be the entry requirement, whether if I've selected the course, whether I'll be able to get the admission in the university or not, right? And third, obviously, it comes to the tuition fee. And then you see the budget, whether I'm able to invest this much or not in this particular course. Fourth, it comes, the location. That is it the safe location where you're going to study, or is it the location where your course is the most valued one, right? And last but not the least, that once you have studied and you have completed your course, it comes on ROI, what you will going to get after completing this particular course. So I think these are the 5 major factors which a student should consider before choosing a destination, and even UK as a study destination.
Yeah. So we've talked about why study in the UK, how to choose the university, how to choose the course. So this is like one segment. Once you are done with it, what is the process?
The second important step comes, like you have selected the university. Now you have to take the admission in it, right? You put your application in the university and the university come back to you, of course, with their decision, right? It's important for you to know whether you got admit or not. It is also important that whether the university has given the offer letter on what basis. Is it your conditional offer letter or is it the unconditional offer letter?
I actually wanted to ask you because I've heard that there are two kinds of offer letters that come. So what are some of the conditions that may come in an offer letter?
Okay. So the condition can be depending over the documents that you may not have submitted during the time of your application. So we encourage the students to submit as much as possible documents which they can give, be it their academics or English requirement test if they have at the moment. So suppose that we have discussed about the entry requirement. Suppose that particular course has an English requirement but you haven't submitted during the time of your application.
Okay, so that's possible. Even without giving the English requirement test, they can still send the application.
Absolutely. They can consider your application, but they may give you a conditional offer letter that, okay, this profile is good, meeting the entry requirement. Let's ask the student to give the English test also.
Okay.
So that's how they give you as a condition that you have to give so and so test.
Do all universities ask for English requirement?
No. I mean, it is actually terms and conditions applied, I would say, because some of the universities do give you the waiver basis on your 12th score. What you have scored in your 12th matters a lot. So suppose if you have percentage more than 70 in your 12th class, English particularly, you may be eligible for the waiver. And also it depends from where you have studied. So some of the universities do consider the medium of instruction as well from the university, from tier 1, or it depends university to university as well.
Okay. So after that, then you were saying that there are other conditions as well.
Yeah. So other conditions like suppose if you have submitted your document and those were not clear. Suppose let's take an example. The university may ask you again and can give you the conditional offer letter basis on this as well. I had one of my student who previously, he wanted to take an admission in a UG program. And we understand that it is always important that we are filling our application before the deadlines, right? So that student gave his 12th exams but did not get the results at that time. However, he got the predicted scores from the school. So what we did is that we have applied on the basis of the predicted score.
Okay.
And he got the conditional offer letter that he has to submit his actual report, actual result that he will be getting. So that's how we got the condition on the offer.
And then did he get the
Of course, he got 70% approximately, and he was fulfilling the condition. He submitted his result and he got his unconditional offer letter. So the process is that if you are getting the conditions, you have to fulfill in order to get the unconditional offer letter.
Okay.
But you need to ensure that you're not missing on the deadline.
Okay. Now we have sent the application. What is the next step after that?
The next step, which is a very important step, that comes to confirm your seat, right? So you have to pay the initial deposit to the university in order to confirm it. So it depends university to university and their initial deposit that you have to pay as a student, right?
What can be the amount of the initial deposit?
It may vary starting with the 1000 GBP and it goes up to, you can say any X amount, but yeah, the minimum, if I have to consider, it's 1000 until 5000 GBP. That's the amount a student has to pay initially for their deposit. And then later on, as requested or as per the financial plan, the university may ask you.
Okay, all right. So after that, then once the deposit is done, the application is done, the next step.
Okay. So as soon as, of course, you pay the deposit, you are already holding your unconditional offer letter, you have confirmed your seat, the next step, and this is actually the, I would say, very important step for a student to know that it's called the CAS process, okay?
Okay.
Now,
What's that?
okay, so I'll help you understanding that term too.
Yeah.
So CAS is basically confirmation of acceptance for studies. That's
Okay.
the document which every international student should have, or I think not should have, I would rather change it that the student needs to have this from the university and in order to file the further process or file the visa.
Okay.
So
Alright.
that's the
So it's mandatory if you want to have the visa, it's
Absolutely.
mandatory.
So let me help you with a very unique thing which very few people notice when they get a caste letter. So there's a unique number comes on the caste letter, which is given by UKVI. Most of the people or the student understand that this caste letter is being given by the university, but it's actually not the truth. This letter has been issued by the UKVI to the university that, okay, yes, this is the unique number been assigned to a specific student and he will going to study at your university.
What is this unique number for?
So that unique number is your caste number. That's where you get your caste letter along with the complete information about your course, about your, when is the last day of your enrollment, how much you have paid. So this letter has been used to file your visa.
But does this number also help them when they land in the UK?
Absolutely. Everything is decided, or I would say that everything is taken care, or any transaction in between is with this caste number only. And even once the student graduates from the university, in order to file for their graduate route visa, this caste number helps.
Okay. So what is the process to apply for this caste paper?
So, in order to apply for this caste process, multiple universities, like say, I'll give you an example. So, most of the universities now have started putting their caste process via a portal called Caste Shield.
Okay.
So, what happens in this portal, that the student get this portal, that is called a pre-caste check. Okay. So, before getting your caste letter, you have to clarify certain checks and then you get it. So, with that caste check, you get Caste Shield portal. And you have to put your basic details, your basic documentation, your financial documentation. So then the university process and assess all your documents and then they issue you the caste letter.
Can you talk about few of the checks that are needed of a few of the documents?
Absolutely. So it can definitely, first it's your academic documents. Second, of course, it's your financial document, which is really important. And third is your TB test.
So after these documents are done, what's the next step?
Okay, so as soon as the student completes this particular check and submit the Caste Shield portal or submit the caste request to the university assess all the documents and then they forward to UKVI, of course, to say that, the student has the complete and sufficient funds, the student has or passed the academic check as well, the student has passed the medical check as well. So, of course, he's eligible to come in our country. And then they issue the caste number, the caste request, the caste document to the student. So that's how the process comes.
I think it feels like caste number is like your fingerprint in UK. It's a unique number.
You can say that.
Yeah.
It's a numeric form. You cannot put your finger exactly for the fingerprint, but yes.
All right. So we're done with choosing the course, the university, the caste number. We've given some kind of deposit as well.
Some kind of deposits. We have actually given deposit to them.
Okay. All right. So what comes after this then?
The third step comes where the student files his or her visa.
Okay. Finally, we have come to
Finally, and that's where the student will be getting the visa or not. Of course, it's a crucial and the very, very sensitive part for a student and of course their family.
Yeah.
I myself have seen students or their parents crying on getting their visas in their hands. Let me share an example with you. So I had my student, he went to University of Bolton in this January intake itself. So he had a UK visa rejection earlier last year.
Okay.
And he got rejected due to, I would say the reason I remember was financial constraint. And he was unable to provide the documentation within a stipulated time period. And that's how he got the rejection. But this time, of course, he was prepared and he came to me and discussed that, ma'am, this is my profile. I had a rejection. And his father was like, ma'am, this is my humble request. If you get him the visa, na, you ask me party anywhere. I'll give you a party. I'll even throw a party for you.
It's a very emotional process.
It is not just for the student, it is for you as well. You yourself say, getting involved in this thing. Whenever a student comes, you quickly ask, okay, what is the update? Did you get the visa? Did you get your caste letter? It is as important as for them. Of course, it is for them, but it is for you too. Because then you see, you are changing a life. You are changing their, the complete destiny. You are changing the entire world for them.
So this is like a cornerstone in the lives of students as well. It completely changes their world and the world of their families.
Of course. But just to give you good news, the student got his visa.
Coming back to the visa again, you landed the visa state. So what is the process? Is there an interview? Is there a test that you have to give?
No test at all. UK visa process is this process does not take that much hassle for a student. It is smooth, it is faster, and the student does not even need to wait for so long for the visa slots. So it is easily available for them.
So what is the duration? How much do they have to wait?
I'll help you with that too. So let me start from the documentation part, because it is important for the student to understand what all documentation they may require.
इसके लिए भी documents चाहिए?
Okay, so let me help you understanding this process. Whatever documents you have submitted previously at the time of your cash check, the similar document you have to submit at the time of your visa as well. Say your academic documents, the financial document, the medical test that you have got, right?
After hearing about all the list of documents, it comes to my mind that Harry Potter got it very easy. He got one letter and he got admission to Hogwarts.
Okay, let me help you with a fun fact here. Okay, just give it a wild guess who, since you have given a reference of Harry Potter, can you also guess who would have studied from UK or any of the university? Just a wild guess.
From Harry Potter.
I am asking you the question now. Yes, from Harry Potter.
Cannot be Malfoy. He
Yeah,
wouldn't
not
get
at
the
all.
grades to get into Oxford.
Not at all.
Guess
Guess a little wisely who can. Who was the wiser one?
Wiser, and then I guess Hermione.
Okay, you have guessed it right. So Emma Watson, that's her name. She has studied from Oxford University.
Oh,
That's
alright.
just for your knowledge, and a fun fact about UK and the university then. So yes, you can actually get your admission confirmed just in one letter. It's just that you have to prepare yourself. There are other documentation as well. That will be the part of your visa application. So as I talked about the financial document, there is a key to it. Now, when we talk about financial document, we understand, okay, maybe a bank statement, maybe if you have FD, then FD. If you have loan sanction letter, then your loan sanction letter. However, we need to ensure that whatever documents we are submitting to while doing your visa process, it has to be authentic. It is not supposed to be that you download it from your app and then you're submitting. No, it has to be properly signed by the bank manager and then you submit at the visa. And that is the reason why we have Meta Finance, where you'll be assigned with a dedicated POC who will help you throughout your loan journey. So these were the documentation, the financial documentation. The key that I was talking about is the maturity of funds. Okay. So UKVI specifically requires the funds to be 28 days mature.
Okay.
So whatever funds you're keeping in your bank account, say in terms of savings, in terms of FD, these two majorly, in this you require the FD to be matured by 1 month approximately. So 28 days is the exact term. And similarly for your savings as well.
So they have to keep the money for 28 days in the bank account.
Absolutely. And then on 29th day, you get the matured funds and then you get the statement and then you get the letter from the bank in order to submit for your visa. Because in the CAS process also, some of the universities requires the funds to be 28 days matured, then only they issue the CAS letter to you.
Okay.
Same funds you can use for the visa process as well, and similar documents.
So more or less, they are the same documents that you have been collecting from day one. Whether for application, then for CAS, then for visa, it's the same document.
Absolutely. It's the same documentation, but with the updated dates. Of course, when you're filing your visa, there might be a little gap between your CAS process and your visa one. So you need the updated documents from your bank. This was the second. Now, many of the student comes to us and ask that, I don't have this much fund, but I have funds in my father's account. I have funds in my mother's account. So the major question comes, who all can be the sponsor? Who all can sponsor you throughout this journey? Because eventually, yes, it's possible for PG student, but it's not possible for UG student because they are still a child for their parents.
So who's going to be the godmother for your
Absolutely.
yeah.
Godmother, okay, this is a new term I'm sharing. But so who all can be the sponsors? That is your mother, your father, And if you're married and going for your masters, then it's yours. And your spouse can also be your sponsor, right? So these are the blood relation, and then your spouse can also be the part of it. However, you need a very specific documentation when it comes to, sponsorship. So if your mother and father is sponsoring you, require a sponsorship letter from them, which is called a consent letter, stating that, okay, I am ready to, or I am having this much funds and I'm ready to fund my daughter, my son. So
And you haven't stolen the money from them?
not at all. So this is how you get the sponsorship from your parents. And when it comes to your spouse, similar consent letter, but you need your marriage certificate to prove your relationship with them.
Okay.
There are two more things that a student needs to consider. Is the student has to pay the IHS. Now, what is IHS? Is the immigration health surcharge. That's the health insurance for an international student, and it's mandatory to take.
Okay.
Once you are filing your visa, it's a part of it. Okay. So you complete this transaction. It will cost you. I am telling you in INR. It will be easy for you to understand. It cost you 1,28,000 or 1,29,000 approximately, basis on the exchange rate, if you're going for a 1 year course.
Okay.
But if you're going for 2 or more years, suppose if you're going for 3 years, it may cost you around 2,30,000 approximately.
And this is for the entire duration?
Yes, absolutely. It is valid for the entire duration of your course. And then comes your visa fees that you have to pay, and it depends on what visa service are you choosing, but it's a standard. That's the initial payment. Once you complete your payment, then you get, of course, your visa and the decision within the stipulated time of 10 to 15 days in standard.
Okay. Coming back to the health insurance part, so if you've paid that, would you also need to pay for services over there, health services?
No, not at all. So most of the services are the part of this health insurance itself. So once you go over there, you register yourself with a general physician, and then if you require, you can take an appointment and go ahead with that GP for an appointment. That's the
You will not have to pay for it?
Absolutely not. That's how we complete our visa process. That's the fourth and the at most important part in your student journey. So the end part is your enrollment, your registration at the university. It's very, very, very important. Even if you get your visa, but you're not enrolling yourself at the university will never allow you to enter.
So what is the difference between sending an application and getting the cash letter, and then what is the enrolling part?
Okay. So once you get your cash letter, of course, it allows you to file your visa, right?
Okay.
You got your visa, but then how the university is sure that you're coming or not?
Okay.
So then you have to enroll yourself. The university themselves sends you their specific email ID, like a student email ID, student password, and a student login.
Okay.
You have to register on their portal. You have to register yourself, of course, your basic details, your contact details, and your photo for your ID card. So these are the basic details required at the time of your registration. So here it comes to an end of a student journey, when finally the student enrolls themselves and then they fly their dream university to UK.
Yeah. I must say that even though it is a lengthy process, and it should be because it is such an important decision, but the fruit of the entire process is extremely sweet.
Yes.
Once you get enrolled into the university, that is just a completely different.
You get a sense of relief. I believe at that time that, oh God, yes, finally I have done it. Finally I'm going to have, or will be living my dreams over there. Will be studying at my dream university.
Yeah.
So yes, it is important for every student to enroll. At times we neglect this part, but it is important so that whenever you're reaching to the university, you're not having any sort of consequences with them.
So talking about changes, talking about our generation, I want to throw in some question which we call our trivia segment.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that are related to study abroad industry. So my first question is, do you know which of the oldest university is there in UK?
I guess we already answered this. That's the
We did.
University of Oxford, and it
Yes.
has been established in 12th century. You will there's a fact about that you are not aware. I mean, not you specifically, but we are not aware about the exact years of the establishment. But
Okay.
it has been one of the oldest university.
Second question, what is the name of the health services in UK?
I think it is NHS, which is National Health Services, and there a student gets an opportunity to take the, of course, if you're having any medical concerns, you can reach out to the your GP or the registered GP, and you can take out the services from there.
Yeah. And which is the most famous food of Britishers that a lot of people look for?
I think it's fish and chips.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
wrong.
I have heard so much about fish and chips. I have seen it in almost all of the television series and everything.
Absolutely, it is indeed.
Which is the Indian dish that is famous in the UK.
Though I'm a vegetarian, but I think it's butter chicken that is pretty famous. And let me also tell you that it was invented in UK. So that's the best part.
Okay, I did not know that.
Now you know.
Yeah. Well, Khushbu, thank you so much for coming to the show. I think that I have gained so much insights in the process, the documents, visa process, IHS, NHS, and I'm sure that our students
So much of terminology.
yes, and I'm sure that the students are definitely more aware about the entire process. But thank you so much for coming.
I am actually glad that I got a chance to express this, because it's important that if somebody knows and if you're sharing this, to the student, it helps them also, gain the knowledge and insights about the student journey, what all and how they start, and how should they start, how should they end, what all things will be the part of their journey.
So, as you have seen, these are the kind of topics we discuss in our podcast series. We talk about choosing the right university, destination, and as well as course. And we delve into the very intricate questions about exactly what is the process, what are the documents you are going to need, and everything related to study abroad. So, if you have any further questions, make sure that you write them in the comment section and subscribe to our channel to stay updated with latest podcast series and episodes.